Amen. And the Senate choir will lead us in the singing of the Philippine National Anthem. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Montiveros, Lacson, Ligada, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 17 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader,
Mr. President, I move that we defer the approval of the journal of the 40th session, November 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, and 22, as it is still being finalized.
is there any objection to the motion? There being none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader, it's the birthday of...
Yes, I know, Mr. President. I was just about to mention, except that I will be mentioning first the guests of Senator Ontiveros, the Barangay Council of Makalan, Herona, Tarlac, headed by Barangay Captain Tiamson, and the students from the PUP, Circle of Public Administration and Governance. I'd like to welcome them to the Senate, Mr. President.
Welcome to the Senate, to all of our guests.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is the birthday of Senate President Pro Tem Franklin M. Drilon. I move that we suspend the session for the members to greet the distinguished member of the Senate, Mr. President.
Session is suspended so we can greet our colleague. Have a happy birthday.
We're ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, with the permission of the chamber, instead of calling for the reference of business, I move that we resume consideration, which we can do later. I move that we resume consideration of House Bill 3408 under Committee Report Number 9.
There is a motion to resume consideration of House Bill number 3408 under Committee Report number 9.
Mr. President, if we can close the market in the Senate, there is only one session going on, I understand, but can we ask the Sergeant at Arms to remove everyone who is noisy from the session hall, Mr. President?
We request a little silence, please. Okay, the motion is still pending for us to consider House Bill number 3408 under Committee Report number 9. Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, this is the act appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2017. The parliamentary status of the measure is that we have already closed the period of interpellations. So may I move to open the period of committee amendments, Mr. President?
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
To introduce the committee amendments, may I move that we recognize the Chair of the Committee on Finance, Senator Loren Legarda.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
May I ask for a 1-minute suspension, Mr. President?
Session is suspended. Saan yung ano niyan? Di ba may sa committee report?
Oo. Oo. Yeah. Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, it seems that the committee is still awaiting some of the committee amendments to be threshed out. Therefore, I move to suspend consideration of House Bill 3408 in the meantime.
Is there any objection to the motion? There being none, we suspend consideration of House Bill 3408 under Committee Report number 9.
I move that we proceed with the reference of business, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved. Secretary, please.
Bills on first reading. 1236, an act mandating a 2,000 peso across the board increase in the monthly pension with the corresponding adjustment of the minimum monthly pension under the Social Security System, amending for the purpose Section 12 of Republic Act Number 1161 as amended, otherwise known as the Social Security Act of 1997, by Senator Win Gatchalian.
Referred to the Committees on Government Corporations and Public Enterprises and Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
1237, an act requiring public telecommunications entities to provide nationwide mobile number portability to subscribers, Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Public Services.
1238, an act regulating the practice of speech-language pathology in the Philippines, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
Resolutions, number 235, resolution directing the proper Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the reported deduction of the SWD officials from the 500 peso social pension for indigent senior citizens in direct contravention of Republic Act number 7432 as amended by Republic Act number 9994, otherwise known as the Expanded Senior Citizens Act of 2010, Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development.
236, resolution in support of the ongoing peace process between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front of the Philippines, Senator Sani Angara.
To the Committee on Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation.
Committee report number 10, prepared and submitted by the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs on Senate Bill number 1239 with Senator Lacson as author thereof, entitled An Act Amending Section 35B 4 of Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as an Act establishing the Philippine National Police and the reorganized Department of the Interior and Local Government and for other purposes, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill number 1052, Senator Lacson.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Message from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 14 November 2016, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House Bill number 416, entitled An Act Allowing Home Economics Graduates to Teach Home Economics Subjects and Home Economics-related Technical Vocational Subjects in all public and private elementary and secondary educational institutions, respectively, consistent with Section 8 of Republic Act number 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013.
To the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture.
And House Bill number 4100, entitled An Act Mandating Higher Education Institutions and Technical Vocational Institutions to ensure the safety and security of the academic community from internal and external threats, thereby creating a Safety and Security Committee for this purpose.
To the Committees on Education, Arts, and Culture, and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
Bills on first reading, 1240, an act upgrading the position of the Provincial Science and Technology Officer into the Provincial Science Director in the Department of Science and Technology, amending Republic Act number 6959, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committees on Science and Technology, Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
1241, an act granting broader protection for consumers, adding new provisions and amending certain provisions for the purpose. Republic Act number 7394, otherwise known as the Consumer Act of the Philippines. Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1242, an act to further strengthen the Anti-Money Laundering Act, amending for the purpose sections 3, 3A, 3B, 3G, 3I, 7, 72, 75, 76, 77, 9A, 96, 10, 11, 14F, 14G, and 16, and repealing Section 20 of Republic Act number 9160, otherwise known as the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001 as amended. Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committees on Banks, Financial Institutions and Currencies, and Justice and Human Rights.
1243, an act creating a Philippine Pollutant Release and Transfer Registry. Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committees on Environment and Natural Resources, Health and Demography, and Finance.
1244, an act modernizing all public schools and state colleges and universities in the Philippines, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Senator Grace Poe.
The Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Finance.
1245, an act banning the catching, sale, purchase, possession, transportation, importation, and exportation of all sharks and race or any part thereof in the country. Senator Zubiri.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Food and Environment and Natural Resources.
1246, an act segregating parcels of land within the libingan ng mga bayani allocated for the remains of Filipino historical figures to be known as the libingan ng makasaysayang Pilipino. Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security and Finance.
1247, an act allowing foreign vessels to engage in coastwise trade in the country and for other purposes. Senator Zubiri.
To the Committees on Trade, Commerce and Entrepreneurship, Public Services, and Ways and Means.
1248, an act declaring January 25 of every year as a special working holiday throughout the country to commemorate the heroism and sacrifice of the fallen 44 of the Philippine National Police Special Action Force, Maria Lourdes Nancy Isbinay.
To the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
1249, an act increasing the positions reserved for the persons with disabilities, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7277 is amended, otherwise known as the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons, by Senator Paulo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, and Finance.
1250, an act amending Republic Act number 7877 or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995 by Senator Risa Hontiveros.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment and Human Resources Development, and Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
1251, an act defining gender-based electronic violence, providing protective measures and prescribing penalties therefore and for other purposes by Senator Risa Hontiveros.
To the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
1252, an act strengthening Republic Act number 8353, otherwise known as the Anti-Rape Act of 1997 by Senator Risa Hontiveros.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
Resolutions number 237, resolution directing the proper Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the reported persistence of child pornography and prostitution in the Philippines, and the apparent need to amend existing laws and make them more responsive in deterring and penalizing child pornography and prostitution. Senator Grace Poe.
To the Committees on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, and Science and Technology.
238, resolution honoring and commending the outstanding women in the Nation Service 2016 awardees. Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy Isbinay.
To the Committee on Rules.
Number 239, resolution congratulating and commending Senator Lauren B. Ligarda for her appointment as Women in Parliament's Global Forum Ambassador for the Republic of the Philippines. Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III.
To the Committee on Rules.
240, a resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the mandate, powers, and functions of the Energy Regulatory Commission and the Republic Act number 9136 or the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001 in light of the alleged suicide of ERC Director Attorney Francisco June Villa by Senator Win Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Energy.
Communications. Communications from the Supreme Court of the Philippines, furnishing a copy of its decision in the case of Jerwin Dorado versus People to Congress for their information and guidance in future legislation regarding children in conflict with the laws.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
Letters from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas transmitting to the Senate copies of the following certified and authenticated BSP issuances in compliance with Section 15A of Republic Act Number 7653, the New Central Bank Act, circular letter numbers CL-2016-087 and 088 dated 28 October and 3 November 2016, and Memorandum Number M-2016-014 dated 2 November 2016.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
Committee report. Committee report number 11 prepared and submitted by the Committee on Foreign Relations on Senate Resolution number 241, resolution concurring the ratification of the Articles of Agreement of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsored Senators Cayetano and Ligarda.
To the calendar for ordinary business. We're done. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, we also would like to acknowledge the presence of our guests in the Senate. Mayor Roberto Arsinue, represented by Mayor John Arsinue, and the barangay officials of Sual, Pangasinan, Mr. President.
Welcome.
May I move to suspend, Mr. President?
Session is suspended. Piprint.
Excuse me.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill 3408 under Committee Report Number 9.
Any objection to the motion? There being none, House Bill number 3408 under Committee Report number 9 is under consideration.
The parliamentary status of the measure, Mr. President, is that we are in the period of committee amendments. So may we now recognize the Chairman of the Committee on Finance, Senator Loren Legarda, for the committee amendments.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
Mr. President, your Committee on Finance would like to propose the following committee amendments, as well as the individual amendments submitted to the Committee on Finance, accepted by the committee. A copy of the Statement of Differences has been provided to all the senators. For Congress, the Philippine Senate, GAB amount, 3,974,450,000. Senate version, 4,186,450,000. Department of Agrarian Reform, Office of the Secretary, GAB amount, 9,801,491,000. Senate version, 9,801,491. Department of Agriculture, GAB amount, 35,200,647,000. Senate version, 35 billion 440,647. Fiber Development Authority under the DA, GAB amount 258 million to, no?
258
Million 457. Senate 358,457,000. Department of Education, Office of the Secretary, 542,315,614. Senate version 545 billion 693,912. And this is to provide funds for site development of public schools, to increase funding for the school feeding program, an additional 1,000 cash allowance to all classroom teachers, and additional school building. National Book Development Board, GAB 36,044,000, Senate version 41,044,000. National Council for Children's Television, 13,910,000, Senate version 25,910,000. National Museum, GAB amount 649,611,000, Senate version 654,611,000. State universities and colleges, 57,436,585,000, Senate version 63,615,277,000. And this is to fund additional capital outlay of various SUCs. All SUCs will get a minimum increase of 50 million for capital outlays. Additional fund will also be provided for scholarships. Total additional allocation is 6.17 billion. Ano hindi ko nabasa? Sandali. Ano tayo? Saan ako napunta? Nawala. SUC. Okay. Department of Energy, 1,098,786. Senate version, 1,100,786. Department of Environment, Natural Resources, Office of the Secretary, 22,672,999,000. Senate version, 21,682,099. Mines and Geosciences Bureau, GAB version 1,373,663, Senate version 1,376,563. This is for the procurement of drones for aerial geohazard mapping, environment-related matters, and the training of aerial geohazard mapping specialists. Department of Foreign Affairs, Office of the Secretary, 16,506,616 in the GAB. Senate version 16,511,616. Senate version. Department of Health, GAB 93,753,075,000. Senate version 99,089,075,000. This is additional allocation for the Doctors to the Barrio program for 1.620 billion. The procurement of medicines, 3 billion. Health facilities, medical assistance, total increase of health, 5.3 billion. Department of Information Communications Technology, GAB, 2,976,382. Senate version, 2,999,882. Cybercrime Investigation Coordinating Center, 6,225,000. Senate version, 13,744,000. Sandali. Ito. Ito. Hindi naka-yellow ito. Basahin ko. Ito. Hindi naka-yellow. Basahin ko, ano?
Department total yan, ma'am. Dito tayo sa ano lang.
Dito. Okay. DILG. Department of Interior and Local Government, Office of the Secretary, GAB amount 8,140,506. Senate version 8,240,506. This is the implementation of the People's Law Enforcement Board. For the Bureau of Fire Protection, 12,977,200,000. Senate version 12,987,200,000. Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, 11,140,975,000. Senate version 11,528,975,000. Additional subsistence allowance for prisoners. Local Government Academy, 232,492,000. Senate version 262,492,000. PNP, GAB amount 110 billion to? Billion 174,728 728. And Senate version is 111,261,615. The net change is due to the purchase of helicopters. Department of Justice, ito bang total? Just ito lang.
Department of Justice,
Yeah.
yung 5 lang. Yung sa OSEC.
Okay. Office of the Secretary, GAB amount 5,213,450. Senate version is 5,223,450. This is for the renovation, upgrading of the Judicial Academy.
5 billion.
Bureau of Corrections, GAB amount is 2,167,000, 2,167,600, and Senate version is 2,330,600,000. Additional subsistence allowance for prisoners. National Bureau of Investigation, 1,298,283,000. Senate version, 1,318,283,000. Office of the Solicitor General, 724,197,000. Senate version, 803,613,000. Department of Labor and Employment, Office of the Secretary, GAB amount 8,398,727,000. Senate version 8,538,727,000. Department of National Defense, 490, PVAO, Philippine Veterans Affairs Office, 497,751,000. Senate version 899,305,000. The repair of the Veterans Center, administration repair of Balete Pass, expanded Veterans Hospitalization Program, and master plan for the Libingan ng Bayani, and the National Shrine of the USA FIP, and the Kiangan National Shrine Rehabilitation Improvement. Armed Forces of the Philippines, GHQ, AFP, GAB, 34,033,053. Senate version, 34,368,078. Department of Public Works and Highways, Office of the Secretary, 454, GAB amount, 454,223,700,000. Senate version, 443,755,692. The negative 7.8 billion is the net effect of the addition of 6.7 billion infra and the cut of 8.3 billion that was transferred to the ARM. This was the gist of the interpellations of the Vice Chair, Senator Lacson. Okay. Department Department of Science and Technology, Office of the Secretary, GAB amount, 4,349,197. Senate version, 4,405,197. Department of Social Welfare and Development, Office of Secretary, 127,838,504. Senate version, 128,078,504. We are providing 350 million for the centenarians, 1 billion for the supplemental feeding program. Department of Tourism, Office of the Secretary, GAB, 2,270,475,000. Senate version, 2,275,475,000. Department of Trade and Industry, GAB amount, 4,023,851,000. Senate version, 5,033,851,000. Department of Transport, Office of the Secretary, GAB amount, 44,677,312. Senate version, 45,689,419. Maritime Industry Authority, GAB amount, 791,395,000. Senate version, 801,288. Philippine Coast Guard, GAB amount, 7 7,429,297. Senate version is 7,179,297. Realignment to OSEC since the DOTR will procure the Maritime Safety Improvement Project. NEDA, Office of the Director General, GAB amount, 1,576,012,000. Senate version, 1,696,300. 1,692,312. Other executive offices. The Anti-Money Laundering Council, GAB amount, 29,410,000. Senate version, 34,410,000. Climate Change Commission, 86,361 in the GAB amount. Senate version is 62,946. Commission on Higher Education, GAB amount, 10,467,475. Senate version, 18,704,475. We are setting up 8 billion pesos for free tuition fees in all state universities and colleges, and additional funds for incentives and grants. Commission on Filipino Language, GAB amount, 58,601. Senate version, 68,601. Energy Regulatory Commission, GAB amount, 337,988. Senate version, 411,841. Film Development Council of the Philippines, GAB amount, 88,021,000. Senate version, 92,021. National Commission for Culture and the Arts, GAB amount, 29,626,000. Senate version, 177,626. National Historical Commission of the Philippines, GAB amount, 638,698. Senate version, 635,698. National Archives of the Philippines, 123,723,000, Senate version 126,523,000. National Commission on Indigenous People, 1,122,331,000, Senate version 1,125,331. National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, 551,832, Senate version 530,702. National Security Council, 142,231, Senate version 152,231. National Youth Commission, 141,501, Senate version 142,501. Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, 8,062,519,000, Senate version, same amount.
It's just a realignment.
Yes. This is a realignment in the budget of the agency, okay, to provide for confidential expenses and infrastructure outlay. Philippine Commission on Women, 77,989,000 in the GAB, 81,989,000 in the Senate. Philippine Competition Commission, in the GAB amount, 402,317,000, Senate version 403,817,000. PDEA, GAB amount 1,153,496,000, Senate version 1,839,762,000. Philippine Sports Commission 203,547,000, Senate version 223,547,000. TESDA, Technical Education Skills Development Authority, GAB amount 6,827,759,000, Senate version 6,732,759,000. Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, GAB amount 32,256,846,000. There's a net change of 8.3 billion, Senate version 40,573,946. To restore the cut. Hindi ko nabasahin to, no? Okay, pareho lang yan, no? Judiciary, GAB amount 31,642,623,000, Senate version 31,813,674. Sandigan Bayan, ha? Civil Service.
Judiciary na kayo man buong body.
Sandigan Bayan, 499,730,000, Senate version 645,781. Court of Appeals, 1,733,307, Senate version 1,753,307. Court of Tax Appeals, 304,433, Senate version 309,433. Civil Service Commission, GAB amount 1,250,531,000, Senate version 1,260,948. Commission on Elections, GAB amount 3,118,137, Senate version 3,117,137. Commission on Human Rights, 471,658 in GAB, increased for 253 million, Senate version 724,868. Department of Agriculture,
National Day.
the National Dairy Authority, GAB amount 189,945, Senate version 199,945. National Electrification Administration, GAB amount 1,817,100,000. Senate version 1,824,100. Tapos na to, ano? Ha? Lahat to is babasahin pa yan? Yeah, that's one by one. Department of Health, Specialty Hospitals, Lung Center, 255,190,000. GAB, 265,190,000. Senate. National Kidney Institute, GAB amount 454,854,000. Senate, 464,854. Philippines Children's Medical Center, GAB 539,163,000. Senate version 544,163,000. Philippine Health Insurance Corporation 50,221,221,000. Senate version 53,221,221,000. This is for the universal health care coverage for all Filipinos. All indigent Filipinos will never be turned away in any state-owned hospital. Philippine Heart Center, GAB 373,917,000. Senate version 383,917,000. Department of Trade and Industry, Aurora Pacific Economic Zone, GAB amount 59,115,000. Senate version 40 million. Tourism, Infrastructure and Enterprise Authority under DOT, 20 million in the Senate version. Housing, National Housing Authority, GAB amount 12,635,748,000. Senate version 12,655,748. National Irrigation Administration, Irrigation Fee Subsidy, GAB amount 36,357,941,000. Senate version is 38,376,441,000. We're allocating 2 billion for irrigation fee subsidy. Philippine Center for Economic Development, GAB 34,745,000. Senate version 44,745,000. Philippine Coconut Authority 1,423,772,000. Same amount for the Senate. It's an internal realignment from Coconut Fertilization Project to Kaanib Community Household Level Coconut Processing Project. Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority 1,596,744,000. Senate version is 2,149,744,000. Zamboanga City Zone Authority 100 million. Senate version is 120 million. Metropolitan Development Authority MMDA 2,128,020,000. Senate version is 2,178,020,000. Local Government Support Fund 39,484,341,000. Senate version is 39,686,341,000. Miscellaneous Personnel Benefits Fund 96 billion in the GAB, 101,603,000. Senate version is 86,355,856,000. We have realigned within the MPBF 12 billion for the combat pay and 221.927 million for the implementation of the National Budget Circular 461. National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Fund, GAB amount is 36,255,000,000. Senate version is 13,247,027,000. We have realigned funds within the NDREAM Fund to provide for QRF for the National Electrification Administration, redistribute a portion of the QRF of OCD to provide for capital outlay, and the cut in the NDREAM Fund was to provide the support for the agencies I mentioned that had augmentations. And just to note that in year 2015, only 5 billion was spent by the NDREAM Fund, and we have here almost times 3 of the budget. Pension and Gratuity Fund, 142,292,622,000. Senate version, 140,792,622,000. Realignment of 246,728,000 to fund the post-World War II veterans. Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Program. It's a new appropriation of 1.5 billion. This is a new fund to provide funding to government agencies that cannot be accommodated by the NDREAM Fund. Wala na.
Support the capability of the 1.5 billion.
Where is that?
67. The same amount.
Ano ito? Saan program?
Same program. Nag-realign tayo to para ma-provide yung
Yes. For the unprogrammed appropriations, a GAB amount of 67,500,000,000. The Senate version, there's an internal realignment for the capability enhancement program of the Philippine National Police.
Energy Corporation.
The National Electrification Administration, GAB amount, 6,086,000,007, and the Senate version is 6,093,000,007. National Power Corporation, 20,988,178. Senate version, 20,988,178, same. PNOC, 965,000,009. Same Senate version. For a, yes, for a total of new appropriations of 2,499,486,952, and the same amount for the Senate. Program funds of 2,432,986,952, and the same amount for the Senate. And unprogrammed fund of 67 million, 500 million, same amount for the Senate. Salamat sa Diyos. I wanted to, saan yung gong? Saan yung aking gong? Akin na yung gong. Before I adjourn. Hindi, I mean finish ko. Mr. President, I have presented the committee and the individual amendments of our budget. And may I just, bilang pong patapos, ay gusto ko pong ipakita lang.
Yung special provision has been submitted to all of
Okay.
the
I just wanted, I was just so enthused when I saw the NCCA in their dial, and they had this gangsa of one of the national living treasures. And they approached me and they said that they were one of the recipients of the NCCA projects. And I thought that I would bring this because we are not sure how long Alonso Saclag will live, but he's from Kalinga. And he says that when he brought this to me, he said, you come to the Cordillera, this special gong, which I made for the Senate, will mean peace to the Senate, because you come and all the warring tribes in the Cordillera will have peace. And so he thought he would bring it to the Senate and give it to me for all of you to hear, because one bang of this gangsa will bring peace. And with that, I hope that the work that your Committee on Finance has done will be passed by this chamber. No? Ano? Nagulat.
Has there been a motion made, Majority Leader? Majority Leader?
Mr. President,
there
move
been
to
a
close
motion?
the period of committee amendments. Huh?
May I add,
Committee and individual amendments have been read into the record, but has there been a motion to approve?
Mr. President, the special provisions.
Yes. I withdraw my motion, Mr. President.
Yes, sorry. I read the numbers, but I have the special and the general provisions, Mr. President. There's a hard and soft copy. May I submit it? You have a copy. Everyone has a copy. Would I request that it be considered read into the record? These are all the general and special provisions, Mr. President. Or would you want me to read everything? Oh, no.
Mr. President, well, first things first. I move that we approve the committee amendments, Mr. President.
There's a motion from the Majority Leader to approve the committee amendments read by the Chairman of the Committee on Finance. Any objection? There being none, the motion and the amendments are approved.
Mr. President, I move that the special provisions be considered as amendments to the GAA, Mr. President, be deemed read into the records, as this has been discussed during the plenary debates on the budget, Mr. President.
Plus its approval. Is there a motion?
Yes, move to approve.
So there's a motion.
And be deemed read into the records.
There's a motion to consider the amendments to special provisions submitted by the Chairman of the Committee on Finance to be deemed as read into the records or part of the records, and that they be approved. Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, I have been informed that there is an individual amendment to be proposed by Senator De Lima, so I move to open the period of individual amendment. I'm sorry, I withdraw, Mr. President. At this point, Mr. President, I move that we close the period of committee and individual amendments.
Is there an objection to the motion to close both the committee and individual amendments periods? Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill 3408 under Committee Report Number 9.
There's a motion to approve on second reading House Bill number 3408 under Committee Report number 9. Is there any objection? There being none, the motion is approved and House Bill number 3408 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, this is a certified measure by the President. May we request the Secretary to read the certification letter from the President?
Secretary, please do so.
11 October 2016, Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III, Senate President, the Philippine Senate, Pasay City. There's Senate President Pimentel. Pursuant to the provisions of Article 6, Section 26, 2 of the 1987 Constitution, I hereby certify to the necessity of the immediate enactment of House Bill number 3408 entitled An Act Appropriating Funds for the Operation of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2017 and for other purposes, in order to address the need to maintain continuous government operations following the end of the current fiscal year, to expedite the funding of various programs, projects, and activities for fiscal year 2017, and to ensure budgetary preparedness that will enable the government to effectively perform its constitutional mandate. Best regards, very truly yours, Rodrigo R. Duterte.
Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President, as mentioned by the letter, or in the letter, pursuant to Section 26, Article 6 of the Constitution, thereby dispensing with the required three-day rule, copies of the measure have been distributed to the members. I therefore move to approve on third and final reading House Bill 3408 under Committee Report Number 9.
There is a motion to approve on third and final reading House Bill number 3408 under Committee Report number 9, which is a certified urgent measure. We will call a roll call vote, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, for the third reading, I move for a nominal voting.
Okay, Secretary, let's do a roll call vote.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara,
Isa-isa.
Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Honasan, Hontiveros, Lacson, Ligarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Po, Recto, Soto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Subiri, Senate President Pimentel.
With 20 affirmative votes, 0 negative votes, and 0 abstention, House Bill number 3408 is approved on third reading.
House Bill.
House Bill number 3408 under Committee Report number 9 is approved
Yes.
on third reading.
Mr. President, I have been informed by the Minority Leader. He has asked me to insert into the records his vote on the 2000 explanation of his vote. I know we have finished already, so just for the record, to give in to the request of Senator Recto, the Minority Leader, I would like to submit his explanation of his vote. If he were here, he would have voted yes, Mr. President, and proposed an explanation. Just submit into the records, Mr. President.
The manifestation of the Majority Leader on behalf of the Minority Leader is noted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. President. Before I withdraw that particular move. With the consent of the chamber, may I state the names of the members of the proposed Senate panel to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of the House and Senate versions of House Bill 3408.
Senator Binay, not me.
Binay? For the 2017 national budget. Of course, Mr. President, subject to the rules, I will be proposing this on behalf of the chairman of the Committee on Finance, but it needs the recommendation and the approval of the Senate President. So for the record, the chair, Senator Legarda, members Soto, Binay, Angara, Villar, Lacson, Recto, and Subiri. Drilon. And Drilon, Mr. President.
Nine.
Nine.
So we will be sending a 9-member panel to the
Hindi. Oo nga, Binay.
Bicameral Conference
Hindi, sinabi ko na.
with the House. Okay, so
Pinutang ko.
any objection? So there being none,
Sinabi ko na. Again,
Yes.
for the record, Mr. President, the chairman,
Again,
the
for the
chairperson
record,
was not listening, Mr. President. Senator Legarda,
Chairman.
Soto, Binay, Angara, Villar, Lacson, Recto, Subiri, Drilon.
369. So the Senate, if there's no objection, the Senate will be sending a 9-member panel to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the budget. Any objection? There being none, they are deemed designated as members of the Senate panel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, November 29, 2016.
Is there any objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, November 29, 2016. Ano ba ginawa ko?